If I ever, for whatever reason, become the president of this country, you are all in trouble. All, Sbulu, yourself included.
This is the Hustler's Corner.
Commander's morning.
Commander morning.
Ronarele buhantate.
Fela. Oh, Tito. Soweto. George Koch.
Ayishikhola sekasa.
Whatever I saw Tsila imnat.
NHLANHLA LUX.
Commander morning. The best.
Let's get it started. Let's not waste time.
Sure.
It's beautiful that it's one-on-one. It's you and I.
Sure.
Beautiful one with Penyon last year.
The best.
Great interview.
Yeah.
How was the feedback on that one?
It was amazing. And when I watched that interview and I see Penwell grow every interview, strength by strength, and I'm like, I teach us buke poza. I teach us buke poza.
Marcus Pansaro, Nantanga, what's it?
No, my man, Opoza platform. A lot of people just don't know half of the things you do in this country. But
now I'm very happy with a lot of the work you've been doing for the community.
No, I appreciate it.
I love the community.
Sure.
I've been doing work with communities for a while. And anytime I see, they say, Barking, real recognizes real.
Sure.
You know, and in terms of doing ground community work, you're looking familiar.
No, 100%.
And
sure.
Keep it up, Mudima Belwen.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Sure. Yeah.
Well-being, family, are you good?
Strong. But I still subscribe to ancient African beliefs. So family is not biological. Family is Batubaru. So even if you go strating, Reinyova, Lankaba Free State, Reinyova, and we want service delivery to happen, and I'm there for 4 months or 4 weeks in a row, and I don't see my immediate family, I'm still with family. Because I don't book hotels me when I'm in other provinces. I sleep with family. I don't know half of the people that house me because they are my family. Yeah.
But it takes a village to raise a child.
100%.
That's what we say in Africa.
Sure. Yeah.
So ungwana mphakathi.
Yeah, that's why kilwanela mphakathi, kilwanela family yaka on a daily basis.
The last time you were here, you were still part, let me say you were a leader of Operation Dudula. It's almost a year later, I think now we're reconnecting. That's why I actually love the fact that you're one of my first interviews this year.
Sure,
you're actually the first, because Nota is family. Nota is always here.
Sure.
So you're literally the first major interview. And I know obviously it's going to be a big interview.
Sure.
I think let's start there. What happened with Operation Dudula? What's the work happening on the ground?
Yeah.
Are you still a leader there?
No.
And what's going on?
No, look, Operation Dudula always had leadership on paper, had an executive, the formal leadership. I've always been a leader of Soweto Parliament. And because we had an understanding that Soweto Parliament, whenever Operation Dudula operates, we're not going to have two institutions doing the same thing. We might as well do it together for strength, because unity is power amongst the black communities. So from their side of leadership, there was no one who could articulate the vision the way I could, and who could handle the media the way I could. So the media naturally gravitated towards me. And that's why I ended up being somewhat the unofficial official face of Operation Dudula. I spearheaded the commercial launch of Operation Dudula. And I mean, probably many people that are watching this didn't know Operation Dudula before they knew Operation Dudula Kanna. So, and that's not me giving myself a big head. That's just to how it all unfolded. And what made me take a few steps back was simply because when I was advocating for Operation Dudula, it was simple. The institution, the movement was fighting against undocumented foreigners committing crime in our country because we can't hold them accountable. And it's just too much. The stats say it, it's not my opinion. And when it moved to, we are now fighting all foreigners, I said, meeting, I'm not going to be part of nonsense, because if you're fighting all foreigners, you're talking nonsense. And it's not subjected to only Africans being foreigners. I mean, even you speak about UK, Europe, you speak about the West, America and so forth, and Asia. Yeah, they're all foreigners. So there's no way that you can isolate yourself from the world. If you say you're fighting all foreigners, that means you are also suggesting all embassies in South Africa must close down immediate effect. People must go home, and all our ambassadors across the world must close office and come back because we are fighting all foreigners. And I was like, I'm not going to allow that. And what's the people that are suffering the most happen to be African foreigners, by definition, because they are the closest to home. You don't find a Chinese guy chilling in Tembisa. You find a Mozambican, and you find Malawi, Bozim, and so forth chilling there. So as soon as you introduce that culture and you condition our people to saying, to hell with foreigners, all of them, then you are saying that there must be a battle in our townships. There must be fights. We must kill each other. We must just talk nonsense about each other. And I couldn't stand there and advocate for that nonsense. A lot of the people, even listening to this interview now, they've never heard me speak of all foreigners must go. I've always addressed undocumented foreigners. If you find a video, SAPC, any video, even social, where I am saying that to hell with all foreigners, I'll give you 10,000 for every video, no problem. So the media was sponsored by forces and some politicians to make me seem as if I'm xenophobic, and when I was not. So then I realized that I now have an internal battle to fight. Why do you think I'm a threat? Do you think I will want to come and be president of Soweto Parliament and president of Dudula? I mean, what's this obsession with titles? Let's work for the people and let's achieve what we need to achieve and let's move. So I think because people had the confidence in me as a leader, made Mahotman uneasy because they had other plans. And another plan that I hated was to convert Operation Dudula into a political party. So all these numbers at some point were going to be converted into politics, and the guys would get into politics using the numbers that we've brought into the institution and the movement. And I addressed that. I said, I am a non-political being because I don't believe in the system of politics. Why? Because I'm a scholar of ancient African history. I know what politics has done to the continent. I can't now join the problem that has abused this continent for many, many years. Politics as a system, I don't care how much independent thinking that you think you have within your political party. If NHLANHLA LUX joins any political party that you are thinking of right now, he can't just speak the truth about this person or that situation, because he's subjected to a disciplinary hearing in the morning, on Monday morning. I must now be go whatever headquarters or whatever, because I subscribe to their membership and terms and conditions. Right now, my terms and conditions are the heartbeat of my people. I'll speak and defend the heartbeat of my people at any given time. No one can say that I want to see you Monday morning, and therefore you are suspended from, and then my voice is suspended, and I can't. What's the problem of this country? Politicians and politics. They've led us to where we are. You can't tell me anything else. Politics as a system, politicians as the people that endorse the system, have led us to the problems that we have in this country and continent. So if I join them, I'm joining the problem. How dare I join the problem? My ancestors would go mad. They're all sitting on my shoulders right now. And my shoulders are heavy because I have to carry the ancestors of those who don't recognize their own ancestors. So when the ancestors are trying to communicate to the physical, they can't use them because they are too blinded by the systems they subscribe to. Some people love their political parties more than their own kids. So don't tell me that if someone can deny their own kid love and love the political party more, they have the room for their ancestors. What room? They lack knowledge. So I don't have a choice but to carry their ancestors too. That's why when I speak for them too. That's why I even lead those who disagree with me, because I understand they are just captured by the system and systems.
On record, two things. Sure. The first thing, you're no longer a part of Operation Dudula.
No, I'm not.
But you are the president of Soweto Parliament.
Yes.
And maybe before we continue, what is the role of Soweto Parliament? What do you guys do? What is your mandate?
So Soweto Parliament is an institution that has put together industry in Soweto, various industries in Soweto, the taxi industry, the political side. All the councillors are part of Soweto Parliament, all the hostels are part of Soweto Parliament. So I managed to unify Soweto, to unite Soweto and say that we have a platform. Whenever we have problems that are beyond the councillors who are in politics, problems that are beyond the taxi industry, what do we do as the people? Because no one is coming to save us. We can't rely on a politician or the government all the time. What do we do for ourselves? And that's what, in just layman terms, what Soweto Parliament is. And we've got Parliament sits where the leaders of all these institutions and industries in Soweto and communities come, and we go over issues. For example, one of the issues that we went over was the electricity issue. Guys, what do we do? And everybody voted, said, let's pay. Let's get Soweto to start paying for electricity, because there's no way we can consume so much electricity and not pay for it. But what's the payment method? Let's have a flat rate, because we understand the economical side of our people and what affects them and how much they have and affordability and. So that if each house pays a flat rate of 100 rands in Soweto, we'll collect what Eskom, in 3 months, we'll collect what Eskom couldn't collect since 94. In just 3 months. So do you see that when people come together, they can be more progressive than institutions that are billion rands worth? Just people coming together is power. So we are spearheaded and we are fueled by the people's power, not by institution power, people's power. So when we say that we are holding the mayor accountable that is the people's power. That's why you saw me and the leadership organize the biggest march in Soweto since Tsetse Mashinini. Biggest march coming out of Soweto to go to the mayor's office, Dr. Mpopalat. We've never seen a march like that, where there's hundreds, even thousands of Bokoko, and there's someone who's 6 months old in the march, and you can count them. Hundreds of kids, hundreds of mothers carrying their kids going to a march, Bokoko, and students and youth. And come on, you've never seen that in Soweto. And I'm not boasting. I'm showing you the importance of unity and the magic we've managed to achieve in uniting our people for a common cause. And that's exactly what Soweto Parliament is.
Now, I like that on record you said it here on camera. You're no longer a part of. He's no longer a part of Operation Dudula.
Sure.
You are the president of Soweto Parliament.
Sure.
I'm glad that you are clarifying your mandate.
Yeah.
And what you guys are about.
So let me also do this.
Yeah.
NHLANHLA LUX, the person, was actually never part of Operation Dudula. Soweto Parliament, the institution, was in an MOU and an understanding with Dudula to operate together. So I, being the leader of Soweto Parliament, then took that role of leading the agreement. So if the agreement was still on as we speak, then DJ Sbu tomorrow, Soweto says, Lux says is not available for leadership in the next conference when we said we're now voting for DJ Sbu. And DJ Sbu is now the president of Soweto. You would then assume that role. It had nothing to do with me personally. But to be honest with you, I believe in a lot actually I believe in everything we're fighting for. To prioritize and put South Africans first in South Africa, no problem. And that doesn't mean anyone is xenophobic. It doesn't. If there's anyone in this lifetime, even before, I don't recall history it's suggesting anything of this nature, what I'm about to say, but maybe people can correct me. All our politicians, South African politicians, have had a lot to say about the wars happening in Africa, but took no action. But I don't blame them. I'm not surprised, because what action are they taking in their own country? It's close to nothing. It's fine. NHLANHLA LUX, in January last year, 2022, went to Ethiopia to go physically be part of a war in the Tigray conflict to help an African country against Western forces, AK in hand the whole time. And all of you listening here, while I was celebrated in many African countries, headlining their newspapers as young people in Africa making a difference, taking the African continent forward, fighting for this continent, in my own country, I was labeled xenophobic. Same week, same time.
I guess that's why also the message was clouded, where people are saying, but he's in Ethiopia, but he's fighting against foreigners.
Yeah.
As you clarified it earlier, that
yeah.
Illegal foreigners,
yes.
Undocumented
yes.
foreigners.
Yes.
And hence the reason for you to pull out of Operation Dudula.
Yes.
Was that also a mandate from the ground forces of Soweto Parliament?
Yes, yes. It was also a mandate. I called a an emergency meeting with the executive, and I said, from a deep analysis, do you see what's going on? We are going to be perceived as people who are advocating for the nonsense that's saying that all foreigners, and we are going to be perceived. History will judge us at some point and say that you guys wanted to isolate yourself from us as Africa when Africa had a problem, and when it was never the case. When in actual fact we are the people that are going deep in Africa, fighting wars to save this continent. Ethiopia being the only country in this continent called Africa that was never colonized. How dare we allow it to be subjected to war by Western forces? Ronald Tatazeli, we don't subscribe to any system that is controlled by overseas people or anything. But again, we suffered the most. Why? Because the West and everyone, global powers, then realized it's Antonia speed. But in any case, we can in the media in his country is already being sponsored to make him look like a villain. And people, because they are gullible, because our people are just gullible. The media says this, they take it as gospel truth. And yeah, so they worked on that and they started wanting to change the narrative, NHLANHLA LUX, in the African continent. But you can't lie to people who've seen my work. You can't. You can lie to those who've heard about my work. You can change their mind because the mind is there to be changed anyway. But the ones that have experienced my work, you are lying. Because go to the Gogos in Deep Loop and say, NHLANHLA LUX, hey, whatever the politicians were saying, NHLANHLA LUX is this and that, all these lies that the media was. But you're like, yeah, we hear that you are saying that. But when we don't have electricity for 3 weeks in a row, the only person comes to mind is NHLANHLA LUX. Not the politicians, not even the president of the country, not even Eskom, not even anybody. NHLANHLA LUX and Soweto Parliament and the people that work. Because this boy works, he sleeps on our kitchen floor until the problem is solved. He's not here to lead his members. He leads society. Even members of political parties benefit from my leadership, even though their leaders are talking nonsense. Now I contribute whenever an EFF member passes away in my community. I take out my money real time and make sure that there's a dignified burial. NHLANHLA LUX fights with a drug dealer in Soweto. And because we are fighting drugs. So the people and the community identifies the houses selling nyaupe. One of the houses happens to be a secretary of the EFF, a branch secretary of the EFF, Mataseki Ataba. The community goes there full force. They go with the police registered, because I don't take part in anything that is outside the boundaries of the law. So a registered march goes there with the community. I go with the Gogos because they form part of Soweto Parliament, and I'm there to protect them, because in a drug raid anything can happen. So my responsibility in the march is to protect Bokok. So they find nothing, and it's okay. We can discuss that another time, why they found nothing at that drug dealing house, because the system is part of the drug dealing anyway. Now they find nothing. We leave. A few days later, EFF national office, the EFF deploys its national spokesperson to come down not only to the province, not only to the region, but to a ward, and say that this NHLANHLA LUX, we are going to make sure he gets arrested. He stole 300 rands from an old man's house. Shebanna. Political party that's supposed to be advancing and bringing about solutions for the people. They are here to make sure that they put stumbling blocks and hurdles in the way of the people that are actually helping the people. These political parties are very short-sighted. Now I'm subjected to running around, going to court. Apparently I stole 300 rands. 300 from a drug dealer's house with the police. Because I was with the police the whole time in that march. And what makes it worse, that man I didn't even speak to on the day. But in court he testifies, yeah, Wang Bamba and the EFF, yeah, like this is anarchy. But I can't blame the EFF supporters, because they're just intoxicated half the time by false leadership, because politics in general is just false leadership. It's not true leadership. True leadership is African leadership. That we can discuss another time, and I can unpack it and I can debate with any politician. I'll come with African leadership. They bring the political leadership, and I can even ask them the history of politics. They can't tell me. It's here, the history of African leadership when Africa was at its prime, before infiltration of the Western forces, before infiltration of, I don't want to make it racial, but of the white systems coming into the continent. And pre-colonization, Africa pre-colonization, that leadership is the only leadership that will save this continent and nothing else. I'm saying it on record.
On record again, do you have aspirations of getting into politics in the future?
I have zero. I can't join the problem. Politics is the problem. I can't join the problem. I will always be leadership of society. I'll always lead people. Everyone will benefit from my leadership, whether you voting for that person or that person. But all I know is that for as long as I'm alive, every day is you gaining ground for your own life, your kids, your community, this country and the continent, because that's just who I am and that will never change. I lead the people. I don't lead institutions. I don't lead members. Every political party, they prioritize their members and then the country. So how dare you think that I can go into change my style of leadership and move away from leading everyone and leading some people? That's where the problem starts. So when these politicians, they win elections, they must prioritize their members first. And that's where you see cadre deployment happening, because the members must eat. If I ever, for whatever reason, become the president of this country, you are all in trouble. All, yourself included. Because everything changes upside down. What you knew, it will no longer apply. This country, Kaba Straight is so. We're not here to entertain people's emotions. We are here to do the right thing for our history, meaning our ancestors. We are here to do the right thing for today, and we are here to do the right thing for tomorrow. Politics prioritizes today, not tomorrow. If politics prioritized tomorrow, we wouldn't be taking the debt we are taking in these global financial institutions. Your kids that are born, a child being born today in Tembisa or Soweto, Kukuletu, Alexandra, doesn't matter where, even in Sandton, not that we are excluding the suburbs, anywhere in South Africa is born in debt. Is born in debt. Domestic debt and international debt. Domestic debt, you are born in Soweto, they're telling you that you own 17 billion. First day, you call that billions, but you call that 17 billion. Marintwana go 4 ways. They don't give us a blanket approach on electricity debt if you are living in 4 ways. So if you make it out of Soweto or Tembisa, that means you just walked away from a 17 billion rand debt, and a new kid who's coming in must inherit your debt. What system of nonsense is this? What does it even make sense to you? Can't. So that means what Mandela used as electricity, the electricity that he consumed with his generation, Desmond Bishop Tutu and Bishop Tutu, Mama Winnie Mandela, I'm now liable for that debt. Nah, because it's a blanket approach when it comes to the township. No, someone must speak the truth, and we must be honest about these things. So we can't have black children born in debt because they want systematically to trap us and to continue the slavery, systematic slavery, because slavery is not physical anymore. It's in the systems, the religious systems, the economic systems, the political systems, the education system. Nonsense, this education system. There's nothing that you're teaching our kids. You and I are product of nonsense education systems, boo. Somebody got to tell them. Somebody got to tell them. 30% of nothing. Even if they say pass mark is 80%, it's 80% of nothing. There's a German kid right now, as you and I speaking, subject to mining. But when you look at his continent, wherever he comes from, there's no minerals underground. But the boys and girls are being taught about mining and minerals. Me and you, there was no subject called mining in high school. What mining were you taught in high school? What's the process to start a mine? Just tell me basics of mining. But mining is a strong pillar, probably amongst the strongest pillars of our economy. So that means that there's a child in Germany somewhere that's being prepared, in Asia somewhere, that's being prepared to come and run this economy, while your kids are being prepared to come and work for those German kids that are going to come here in future. Because your kids are being taught how to do nonsense, how to label an insect. Insect label insecting. Listen, our economy in this country, it's agriculture. Our economy in this country, I can even break down what agriculture is. Mining, manufacturing. Why aren't those things primary subjects in primary school, in high school, so that you've got a basic understanding of your own economy? That means some people must come from somewhere to run this economy, because your kids were never taught anything about this economy. So we mustn't even dare to want to argue with me, not you personally, anyone, about the education system or any other system in this country. It's designed to continue systematic slavery and suppress the people of the day and make sure that the future belongs to those who are prepared for it. Definitely not your children.
Somebody else watches this interview and hears and he says, you can't say politics irritates you. You don't want to be involved in politics. but you're making a figure of speech, or I don't know if it's a statement that you said, if I become the president of this country, not knowing if that's just a figure of speech, but the democratic system says for you to be president of the country, you need to participate in politics.
Sure. So this country doesn't need democracy. This country, and look, I am not here to probably active people these days. You speak about a bird and the bird community will attack you, and if you speak about an insect, then the insect loving community will start attacking you. So no, I don't care for those things. I'm not an emotional person. What this country needs is this country and continent needs is what this country and continent used to have. You need half democracy, because the people must also govern. People must have influence in what happens. And you need half a dictator that loves its people and understands and what's happening underground, on the ground, and in the sky. For those who don't understand half of the language I speak, what happened yesterday, what's happening today, what's going to happen tomorrow. So you need someone who will say that this is not happening. We don't need a meeting and a process where you have a bunch of ignorant people who don't even take care of their own kids, claiming to take care of the country. DJ Spooda, I would trust you with this country because I have seen you working for your community. Don't tell me about a man who does not have footprint in his own community but expects to take over the world. For you to be the best DJ in the world, you have to start by being the best DJ in your continent, and then maybe your own country, and then your own province. And then, do you see where it comes from? You must first beat the ones around you. It's simple. Think of anyone in the South African parliament right now. Whoever that person is, male, female, doesn't matter. That politician in parliament. Now, go back to where they come from. Their own community is suffering from the youth unemployment. Drug dealing is everywhere. It's dirty. So what do you expect them to do for the country if they fail to do those things for their own communities and families? Man, those people are not, the people in parliament are not mad. We are mad. The people of this country are mad.
Another one on record again.
Yeah.
Don't you have, or do you have any politicians behind you?
I have zero politicians behind me. If I had politicians behind me, I'd have fancy newspaper articles written about me on a daily. The reason why there's nonsense written about me every day is because the same politicians are sponsoring it. I've got politicians who are sponsoring court cases against me from stealing 300 from a drug dealer. Come on, Spoo. Come on. There's no politician that has ever sat with me down, Ntwana, I like your thinking, even though it's probably abstract and it's not the same as our thinking, but what's important is that it benefits the people of the day, and we apparently also supposed to be benefiting. Make sure that whoever, our beneficiary for all our efforts, actions, thoughts, must be the people. And you seem to be having a formula that does it outside politics. Can you collaborate so that the people can win better? I've never had that call or meeting. Everything that I get from politicians is always negative. And whenever there's some light of positivity, it comes with condition of, Ntwana, come this side so that sense is into. Come this side where in politics, then you are clueless, you have no clue. There's a reason why when I call a meeting, it doesn't matter where, full house. Go get your politicians individually outside their political parties to call a meeting. I want to see something. You are now seeing a trend where society is rejecting politicians coming in their communities for whatever reason. People are tired. You can't fool our people for too long. You can fool the mind and you can fool the immediate environment, but you can't fool the spirit. The spirit at some point will vibrate, and once it vibrates in common vibration with other spirits, it's game over. More, yeah. Maybe that let me not go there, but yeah.
Load shedding. It's not even what it was Hakivaya last year. It's like even worse.
Sure.
It happens even more than once a day.
Sure.
And I'm like, what is your stance on the electrical problem in the country currently?
Yeah, look,
and also as Soweto Parliament.
Yeah, look, one thing that is clear, those plans are not just destroying themselves. There's big political sabotage happening. These people fight amongst themselves for power at the expense of people. NHLANHLA LUX has said it. There's a group of politicians that are disgruntled, that are messing around with power plants, so that there's the current leadership of the day, who I don't even have any interest in, by the way. You're asking me about my deep analysis and how I see the situation. I'm telling you now. There's sabotage in these things. There is big political sabotage happening at the expense of our Gogos communities and everyone else, business included. They don't care for us, these people. If they cared for us, things such as Eskom, and yes, even from before I forget it, even from politics again, there's a plan from other political forces to privatize our institutions, our public institutions, our SOEs. For what gain? For just capitalist reasons. So politics again is a problem. I just gave you 2 problems, and those problems are within politics, about just power. Because if you have intentional, deliberate leadership, there's no problem big enough. You'll solve it immediately. The people of the day can't suffer from electricity. There's countries that depend on our production for them to have electricity. They don't have load shedding. So why are we subjected to it? It shows you the problem is internal. There's a problem amongst the people, not amongst the commodities. Look, we're a coal-producing continent/country. Let's focus in South Africa. Why don't you go back to the coal, to coal? Because we signed in the international agreements on climate. Yeah? To say that if we use coal, there's going to be serious. There's going to be thanks my leadership. So there's going to be, I'd rather have more fire for now.
You must wash it down with water.
Sure. So all I'm saying is and the ordinary people don't know this. We have signed with international institutions. United Nations is on record. There's records everywhere. Resigning as a country, no a continent, no we use a coal because we are also participating in healthy environment, what nonsense. And the coal that we are not using is now being exported to European countries. They are using it.
So are you saying Cyril or Paisa?
People like Bontate Cyril Ramaphosa, with all due respect, I want young people to understand something when I speak of the president. You must always display serious respect for the president. The leadership of the day, whether you agree with it or not, you respect it.
You're respecting the first office.
Yeah, that's it.
But how do you... Okay, sorry, continue.
So Sbuda, one man in a democratic system, doesn't matter if the man wants good or not. The one man is not good enough because a democratic system is a majority rule system. So the people around Cyril, the people in that parliament that form part and parcel of parliament, because he is the president of the day. Therefore, he can't excuse himself from the people around him because it's a democratic institution. It's a democratic country. So these people of these leaders of the day, whether he likes it or not, will influence the direction he always takes. So I can't say Cyril war paizisa. Politics yar paizisa. If Cyril was a leader of another system that's not democratic, maybe we judge the man for the man. But now you can't judge the man for the man. There is no way in politics you can be an independent thinker and deliver on your independent thinking. It must be collective. So this is just showing that the collective, being the politicians, are useless. Not the man. Don't play the man. Play the ball all the time. We can't come to any platform and say Cyril useless. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't even say a minister useless. It's impossible. It's impossible. It is highly impossible. So for me, I want any young person watching to always remember this. Whenever media plays the man, they are infiltrating your mind to believing things that are not there. Cyril can't be useless. They are all in the same vehicle. How can Nalo and our driver KZN and we are all drinking and driving in the car? When we crash, everybody, Lux useless. Let's be useless. And everyone else who was advocating for that nonsense behavior in the car, but useless kafela. So Cyril can't be useless. They all have a problem.
Topang Mofa is the same person who supports Kaizer Chiefs or Orlando Pirates. The same person who supports Jomo Cosmos. The same person who's voting for EFF. Some other people voting for other political parties, the ANC.
Sure.
Is the same person who is a part of the Soweto Parliament.
Sure.
And you, the same person who is against what is going on with load shedding or electricity crisis in the country.
Sure.
You're the same person that recorded a video against the EFF leadership pronounce a march that is happening in March.
Sure.
A march that's happening in March.
Danke.
Well, according to how I listened to the statements, that march is a march against the electricity crisis that is going on right now.
Yeah.
And you are one of the people who's also disgruntled about the electricity problems.
Yes.
So why would you be somebody who's vocally against the EFF march?
Yeah.
And what are the reasons there?
Sure. So my reasons are clear, Sbu. I am saying, and it's not the first time, Bontate Zwelinzima Vavi.
Yeah.
On record, we go ANC debating. They were proposing a shutdown. And I was one of the people that said, no, you can't just dictate to society. You can't wake up and say, people are not going to school, people are not going to work, people are not going to engage. I care you're a political institution. Engage the structures. Have meetings. Have your guys come to the ground. Soweto, Bafetu, we want to do this because of this, so that Libo Kokoba understand. There's someone on that day, on Taplomenkas, 8 years, Abataspan. There's someone that's been called on that day. So because there's politicians who say the country must close without consultation of society, guys, there's more people outside politics than there are more people in politics. The days of politics dictating to the masses is over. It's over. I'm not saying it's going to be over. It's over. Politics must learn to consult the people of the day and say, guys, this is what we are trying to achieve. We just come from COVID, where businesses went under. Some businesses were not strong enough to survive the waters. They drowned. Some are trying to hold on. Some are holding on for dear life. And now we are closing the country again. We can't. 100 rand, a lot of our people, Baspanaka, no work, no pay. These companies treat our people like that. So on the day, when they don't get paid, they are 150, 200. Who's going to compensate them? Guys, like in our black communities. So I am not against the march. On that day, heart attack. Ambulance won't be able to move from Para because there's a complete shutdown. And shutdowns also do what? Is a window of opportunity to criminal elements to creep in and start shops being looted. History tells us this is not my opinion. But when you've consulted with us, okay, Mahotman, okay, Machens, this is a common cause, let's do it. What's my responsibility? My responsibility, since you're a leader of millions of people in Soweto, can you guarantee the security for us? So that it mustn't criminalize such an important cause. Yes, with pleasure. But now, if you are just waking up and you're telling me how my day will be on a certain day, you're undermining my own intelligence and everyone else's for that matter. So my biggest gripe here is that we are done as society, just waiting for a Superman to come from the sky and say, on the 8th, go west, go west. On the 9th, go east, go east. Listen, Banaba Ransos, Chabasa Ranso. That means Banaba Pupelo, Yabatuabans. The days of them being played around with by politics is over. Politics is just an extension of Western forces. Just know that. It's over. What the West did to the continent, they continue to do it through the systems, but led by our own people. That's why you can never think the system is an enemy. This entire system is an enemy, teacher Sbu. Sbuda kya chaela. Like, akitatazeli, kublela straight. Every politician, it's just not, maybe they're just thinking for themselves. There is nothing good that is going to come out of politics. There isn't.
So how do you solve the electrical problem? I mean, there's a whole lot more other problems, but the immediate problem is electricity. How do we solve it though?
You need a leader that is intentional, and that is somewhat ambor dictator. You need a dictator that loves his people. It'll take us out of the problems we have now. You need a Putin. Whether you like it or not, you need a Putin.
To do what?
To come and give direction.
What direction would you give
right now?
If you're in Cyril's shoes?
I wouldn't be in Cyril's shoes, so I wouldn't want to find direction from there.
But you did say
that. No. Okay. Where he is.
Oh, okay.
In a democratic system where the party must influence my thinking, and just because of it's in politics, the person that can sing an Oliver Tambo song well becomes the leader of the day. Not a person that can think better. Not a person that can be a deep thinker or critical thinker or a deep analyst and come up with proper solutions. Look, if I was, okay, let's just say it for example's sake. If I was the leader and number one office bearer of this country, regardless of the title, whether he's the king of the country or president of the country, the first thing I would do is I would deploy competence. We've got a lot of young people, Batwang Dikela, who are brilliant engineers sitting at home. And most of your big positions are filled by politicians. If you interrogate their background, they know nothing about engineering. If you look at the ministers in charge of electricity right now, and you sit down with them and you actually have a real conversation about engineering, they are just there because Keita was, this Keita fought and he used to report to Mamang and he was in the intelligence forces of Mkhonto Wesizwe. That can't be a criteria to lead anything. It can't be. I know it's sad. I know people will start attacking me because they love their political parties more than the truth. You want to go give an Indian boy a chance, a colored boy a chance, even an Afrikaans boy in the farm somewhere who is amazing at electricity. Maybe get electricity go Russia or go even America and also skill. But Hana access because of their political position is not in line with what politics of the day wants. So the cadres will be in leadership positions more than the competent people. There's a child right now in Eldos or in a very colored community who can be a brilliant president of this country and in the same conditions and the same systems, but will never get the opportunity because they're just colored. There's a child in Lenasia or KZN, Indian, brilliant, straight A's, everything, and does international relations. We pass it high colors and practiced on the ground, understand the different dynamics, probably even multilingual, can speak Zulu, can speak Sotho, so understands. That's what KZN. Never get that opportunity.
So how would you solve that problem of cater deployment? Because clearly they're not deploying the right people who are right for the jobs.
How would I solve it in the current system? I just have to take a decision where I know I'm going to have enemies. Because currently, some people are benefiting from the nonsense. So when you address the nonsense, you are inviting enemies, which is fine. A lot of people are scared of these enemies. I'd rather have enemies and the country moves forward. I don't mind. So I would literally sweep every department and even get rid of some that are useless and even introduce some that are important. I'd sweep every department. Look at, and I'm not undermining Mama Thandi Mudis. Kimnganyo blind as a human being, but in the position of leading the military. The commander of the day in the military that is non-political is led by a politician. A politician is got higher rank than the generals. Even if the general says that this is the analysis and these are the reports, we are being infiltrated in our CBT and we can go clean these buildings right now that are overtaken by people we don't know, undocumented, because it's actually a state of emergency. Because if you have so much people that are undocumented that you can't account for as a state in capturing all your CBTs around, state of emergency. But you're now relying on a politician to initiate that. And then we say our military is useless. It's led by politics. And above the minister, the president is the number one commander of this country, by the way. He commands the military. He deploys the military, not the generals. The generals, unfortunately, have to wait for the command from the president. They can't command themselves. That's how the system is designed, and it actually is. So for me, to solve the problem, allow competence to lead us. The generals are competent. Allow them to remain apolitical as the military. Because you can't say the military is apolitical, but they're number one commander. They're number one and number two commander. They're politicians, but the entire military is apolitical. What are you talking about? Zhuang. So for me, I would make sure that I clean every department and replace people with competence. Not replace people with people. I would replace people with competence. And that's it. The country would be a working country.
2024, it's elections. We're actually months away. Yeah. Where does Soweto Parliament stand?
Look, Soweto Parliament's vision is within the boundaries of Soweto. So what I've been doing, it's actually on record, so I can even say it here. I'm not going to stand for the next elections to Soweto Parliament, which are happening any time from now. The dates, there's 3 dates, and we're going to decide on one, and we're going to elect. There'll be a new president for Soweto Parliament. What I will be doing is now reaching out to every corner in this country, because people have been seeking us and saying Zwagala, but I'm subjected to Soweto because it's Soweto Parliament. Now, I registered my own foundation, NHLANHLA LUX Foundation, and the foundation goes all over the country. We do quite a few things. Security is one of them. We go to the borders and we help with manning the borders, and we go into schools, clean drugs in schools, and fight against gangsterism in schools, because we're not going to tolerate gangsters hiding behind school uniform. Ngwana wa tsamaya ka sethunya a kena ka 38 kwa ratlas a isa le student ke criminal masquerading as a student, and when you come in, you're going to treat that child as a criminal, not as a student. So these are some of the things that the foundation is doing. We are also going into farms, helping against farm murders, farm attacks, and a weak-minded person. If you want to say that, it's okay, because we are hypocrites in South Africa. The man we celebrated more than any other in South Africa, in the history of this country since 1994 at least, has always been Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela advocated for unity amongst our people. Now, it was something that unfortunately was only said but never practiced. You've never seen practicing of people coming together. Where have you seen in South Africa young people honestly working even old people working together? There's an Indian kid, there's a colored kid, there's an Afrikaans kid here, and a white kid here, and a black kid here, and that's a unit that works together. So in the NHLANHLA LUX Foundation, what I've done is I've created a platform that says we are not operating in anything divided. So our number one team, or any other team that operates anything in the foundation, must always have a representation of all our races that make up South Africa. So this is now us practicing the unity that some of our ancestors died for. Because our ancestors didn't die for us to come and do what they did to us. Because that's what history tells me. Even when I listen to Chris Haney's every interview, some of the interviews I can even quote him verbatim. I'm like, I listened to one interview million times. So they never fought for black people to be superior. They fought for equality, those people. So for once, someone must practice this equality. Because even when you hear politicians speak, they will speak for their members or their people. You hear white people speak, they prioritize their people. You hear so we are saying as young people, we are done with that nonsense. We are actually going to come together. We are going to unite. We are going to make sure that every time you see NHLANHLA LUX Foundation operate, there'll be an Afrikaans boy here. Afrikaans as ever, take Bures, coming from farms, out emerging from wherever they've been hiding, to come here. I've given them a platform. Indian boys that are often shy to even say anything because then they are Indian, they're not black enough, they're not, because their classified politics says they are black, but they are Indian in their hearts. And colors who are also subjected to being black by political definition, but they have their own identity. I'm saying we have created a platform. We have literally created a platform that says we are operating together to take the country forward. We are not going to say that the spotlight is for Lux, the black child. No, not only the black child. We are all moving forward together, because if you leave people behind, the story of Shaka Zulu, the story of Jesus Christ, the story of anything, the story of, doesn't matter what you subscribe to. It always tells you that if you leave people behind, you are actually creating an enemy, and you are conditioning the enemy to be very strong. And at some point, it's just a matter of time, they'll come after you. So if you don't want enemies and you want to set a country that moves forward properly, you must be inclusive, not exclusive. You can't be for some and leave some people out.
Some people call you a sellout.
Oh, I'm happy because of those people who call me a sellout. They can't define sellout. Sellout from ing? Eh? Oh, no. What's a sellout? But they've used the term sellout. What are you selling out? What is a sellout?
You said you don't like politics. Are you voting in 2024? A responsible thing to do, especially for a young leader like you, is to mobilize society to exercise their democratic right of voting.
I'm going to vote in 2024. Everyone else should vote in 2024. And how I often vote, as I vote for the youngest person on the ballot box. I vote for the youngest person there because I believe in young people. So while I'm on the topic of young people, do you know that there are more young people than old people in this country? The young people just don't vote.
The whole continent.
The whole continent. The young people, the whole world. Sure. Young people, they manage to capture our environment, because the environment is the master of the mindset. Doesn't matter what you do. I can affect your thinking and your life from altering your environment, not even touching you, talking to you. Now, this is deep. A lot of people don't understand this. So, Kokasi, you allow Nyaope to happen so that the bulk of our problems will increase. Because when Nyaope happens in our communities, it doesn't only affect those who are buying and taking Nyaope. It affects even us who are not buying and taking Nyaope, because when this one buys and takes Nyaope and becomes high, I wake up without a tap, and I must now focus on a tap for the day. I must find a tap.
And even the Nyaope Ntwana is my Ntwana.
And Ntwana Nyaope Ntwana. It affects my spirit like big time. It is my son. So you guys just don't see the trap in our townships and our communities. They throw in things in our environment so that our minds can be limited to that environment. Because if you don't have a computer in your environment, you can't be a computer scientist. You can't be any. If you don't have a soccer field in your environment, you can't be a soccer star. Like, it's that simple. I can't even make another example. It's that simple, Spuda. So these people will allow for nonsense to be part of our environment, because, like I said, the environment is the master of the mindset. So that your mind can start reflecting the environment, you become nonsense from your thinking, from your action, from your nonsense. So come the day where we vote, do you have the intelligence to even think about what's important? Do you even really know what's going on in electricity? You don't. All you know is an Oliver Tambo song. Whenever there's a problem, the politicians, they remind you, let's come together and sing.
Should the ANC continue leading the country?
I don't think politics must continue. It's not even about the ANC. Politics mustn't continue to lead this country. The people must govern. The people shall govern. And who are the people of the day? The people of the day is who our ancestors all died for. The people of the day are South Africans. Who are South Africans? South Africans are not only black people. They're the colored people, boys, girls in El Dorado Park, in Cape Flats. They're the Indians, everywhere. They're the Africans boys. They're the girls and boys. So we South Africans must come together. If we do not unite, we're going to have a problem, because politics profits from our people's poverty. That's why they'll keep you poor. Politics profits from us being divided. That's why they'll keep us divided. Politics will profit from an uneducated society. That's why they'll give you nonsense education. So the people must rise, come together, and make sure that they lead themselves into the promised land, because no one is coming to lead you to the promised land.
And lastly, to close off the interview, how does Africa rid itself of the connection by our leaders and the Western imperialists? Because clearly we've all seen where the problem is coming from.
Yeah.
And we've all seen that there's big monies that are flowing into this continent to sort of capture our leaders. And I guess that's why a lot of the things that are happening, our leaders are not caring about us, because, they're getting the bag wherever they're getting it from.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to say that what you just said, maybe people won't understand. Every politician is captured. Not some, all. All. They rely on business. They rely on business to fund politics, to fund their movements. And therefore business, and it's just a network where business must also come and benefit from them if they win and become the leadership of the day, the political leaders of the day. And that's why you can, if you interrogate the municipalities, whichever political party runs the municipality, look at who funds them when the list comes out, and look at who gets business in the municipalities when they're the leaders of the day. It's not rocket science. So every politician is actually captured, but they'll sing songs about us society leaders being captured who are non-political. And there are people, because of they are also intoxicated by the nonsense, then they believe it. So for me, the solution outside this conversation of capture politicians and all this is that how we can move away from the Western forces controlling and further raping this continent is not a process away, it's a decision away. If you can all unite, number one. If we all unite as Africans, not African Union nonsense that's under United Nations. I'm talking about the real unity of our people. If you can all unite and say that, but it starts with the unity of the country first. If we can unite in each of our countries and fight for our countries and say that, guys, regardless of our differences, we are uniting to take this country forward. That unity will produce magic. And then we say that with immediate effect, we are cutting the relationship of our country and continent for the next 6 months, because we are cleaning we are dealing with ourselves. It's like marriage. You can't have a relationship, maruwena. You're not in good terms with yourself. What are you offering this relationship? We can't influence what America does, but America on a daily basis influences what we do. How does that even make sense? When is it going to, when is the time? When is the moment when the richest continent with minerals and everything that matters, when will we borrow America money? America has nothing, under, pound for pound. America has nothing on us. Pound for pound, Europe has nothing on us. But we are coming last every day. It's because of the people that are leading us. So bring back the unity amongst our people. Bring back the real education that we used to teach our people before this nonsense systematic education that came, that is here. If you go to Western African countries, you go to actually just Western Africa is amazing. In our culture, we've got African culture outside what the West teaches us. We've got people who in rural places who can tell you about the stars and astrology and astronomy better than any university can. So that is evidence of our people and our systems, ancient African history, suggesting that our systems were far superior than what we are being taught now. So why do we want to continue with this nonsense system?
Unity has been preached for many years.
Sure.
And Penuel the other day said something so interesting and said, the Jewish community is not all white people. The Afrikaner community is not all white people.
Sure.
You know, and he named these groups and he said, but they're able to effect change for their people or for their group of people.
Yeah.
Do you see a day when, or do you see black people sort of unifying, but unifying with a certain number of like-minded people who can effect change?
That time has arrived, not is coming. I lead society. I see brilliant young people who are amazing, who are doing it, not going to do it. I'm also challenging myself to say that you can't be like these people that you are fighting and the systems that you are fighting. That's why I've created in my foundation, nothing happens if there is no representation of all races. That is an exercise of unity. It's not a preaching of unity. Watch the space. Watch when we start showing content of us, who are South Africans, holding hands, working together, guarding our border. Watch when I give you content of us protecting the farms. Watch when I show you content of us, Dek Bures, the Indian boys, and Alice going into townships, cleaning, getting rid of drugs in government schools, and getting out and showing you. Today we got rid of a 9mm. That content is there.
How are you going to be funding yourselves?
The same way we always do. I always tell people, listen to me about funding. They lied to you about funding. Not a lot of things need funding. $1 can be converted into $2, $2 to $4, $4 to $8. Can be. I've proven it. I've got case studies where I've done it in my life. How a lot of people, when I carried Maponya, when all your politicians were sitting at home in the electric fences and warm underfloor heat, watching our people dying from looting mall after mall, the ordinary people, leaders of society, went to protect the malls. And they sponsored PR to say that these ones are funded by white people. It's fine. I want you to hear this. Simple. It cost me nothing to move from my house to go to Maponya Mall. I actually walked. It's not that far. When I got to Maponya Mall, the same data that you used to Google porn, I used the same data to make a video and mobilize society and say, come, let's guard this place so that this looting mustn't destroy this township economy. The guys that I work with on a daily basis, day and night, protecting the streets of Soweto, came. We got shot at the first night. We got shot at the second night. But we are still here. And the mall is still there standing. The legacy of Dr. Richard Maponya is still there. And then the nonsense politicians, Barry, oh, he was funded. What needs funding in that entire operation? Somebody tell me where we need funding. When you do great things, you don't need... Listen, you think that to produce a Chabupule, you need to have a father who is in business, in tenders, and a mother who opens his legs for politicians, so for tenders, and so that we can have money, and our child can start going to academies or soccer. Steve Likolia, Chabu Matlangu, I can name all of them. They come from the dust of dusters, man. Dust. Abana Sainas, Marwahuleti dusting. They came and took the world by storm. What funding did Chabu Pule need? Did Chabu Matlangu need? What funding? Tell me now. What funding did Steve Likolia need? Kavala, what funding did Dr. Kumalo need? The Brazil is shake. Abam substitute about 3. Ikila Rasha Brazil 2-0 run. Mtunga Kalamapol, Asheva crowd ayer. What funding did he need to do that? Brilliance doesn't need funding. It needs heartbeat and it needs serious balls. And make sure that you navigate yourself to greatness. There's no funding needed here. Right now. Please tell them the truth. What it took for you to go from zero to somewhere where you eventually have more fire today. Because this is not your journey. You didn't start from A to more fire. You the alphabet is boo. Some of us were there to see it. Some of us were there to see it, boo. DJ Sbu kadi hamata mek emakhanyani man. Njatse di pandile sebaka. Chabupulo rumoneko or mang moneko Pirates. What's what let's team take go kasipil. O let's Midlands United ayako Pluperele ayako mfola lo trailer adlala ko mloyi adlala. What's bona li game take before adlala first game ya Pirates. Ebona na celebrity overnight. We don't need funding. We need you to be consistent with your brilliance. Keep at it. You will get brilliant and everything will be attracted to you. Not the other way around. It's not outside in. It's inside out. It's that simple. You don't need the funding that they told you need. I don't need Standard Bank in there. I don't need FNP to start an airline. I need this and a little bit of your balls. Nothing else.
Before I let you go, are you scared?
Of who or what?
For your life?
Come on.
Do you get death threats?
Many times. And some that were sent to come and shoot us. Because now I've buried my guys. I'm not talking in 1976. I was not there. I'm talking last year. I'm talking a few months ago. I buried some of my guys because AK, I've been shot air to rifles. Some made national news, some didn't. Because the media doesn't want you to know that. Some foreign guys shot at us because of what they were intoxicated by in the media reports. Not because of what I said. So I'm enemies. Today I've got an enemy with drug dealers and I don't mind. Because me making sure that the future of this country, the young people, are sober today so that they can lead the country tomorrow. I can die for that, no problem. If it means that because I'm exposing your incompetence as politicians, but the one thing I can tell you is that everyone who's been sent to come and shoot at us is not doing this interview. I am. Baka, I know.
Last words to the people. It's not even a valid listening. You're coming back in a couple of months.
2024 is coming to the young people. There's more young people than old people. But those voting stations are always full of bokoko. And Rona, from the night before, because when you vote, it's a public holiday for us. We don't see it as an opportunity, an AGM, annual general meeting of the people to decide the future of the country. So I'm saying to you, this voting year 2024, young people are going to all come out. All come out. Every corner of this country, we are going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go knock at every door. Young people, and not only got voting day, got registration day, because Barshaka's Pantol, if you haven't registered, you won't vote. So they know that we procrastinators as young people, we are going to make sure that registration day, IEC or not, whether IEC communicates this or not, what we then going to do, we are going to make sure that we are going to mobilize all young people to register to vote. And if there's a young person that wants to emerge and contest these dinosaurs in parliament, and wants to lead everyone, not only their members, meaning leading outside politics, but contesting these politicians, the young person, raise your hand. We will support you. We will give you all the airtime. You look at our Instagram. Some of us are verified, but you don't post cars and what. And I'm not throwing, this is not a shot at anyone. But let's use our Instagrams, because our young people are on those platforms for liberating their minds, not continuing the capture of material things. So some of us, you look at our things, or look at our platforms on these social medias. From now, this is the first day of the rest of your life. We are going to take your influence and your platform. Machens kaofela, bo AKA, bo Casper, kaofela, machens kaofela kasie, kaofela, the leaders of entertainment, bo teachers boo. We are going to use our platforms as universities that liberate our young people moving forward from today. Bo zota wa bantu le itseba kaofela. Re tla phanda setse country le grand bafethu. The platform tse arska phanda ka tsona no. We have an opportunity to change the country in 2024. I will be one of them. I'm raising my hand that says that I will support whichever young person that emerges, but that the young person mustn't be an Oliver Tambo seeing a fella mostra thing. We want to support competence. Young people that are qualified in these universities and engineers, come, we're contesting. We want you to lead our minds. We want you to lead Eskom. We want you to lead all those things. We can't rely on the same people that have failed us to continue to lead us. Commanders Morning, NHLANHLA LUX, Soweto Parliament.
Ladies and gents, NHLANHLA LUX, Commanders Morning.
And before we leave it at that, this message is not exclusive to a certain group of racial people, black people. I am saying to you, the Afrikaans boy chilling in the farm right now, you must get this message. The time and the platform is now here for you to come and exercise your contribution to taking this country forward. Whatever the nonsense that is being preached to divide us, continue to divide us about what your parents did to mine, about what mine did to yours, that thing is a thing of yesterday. The thing of today and tomorrow, we are coming together. Indian boys, Indian girls, rise up. We've got a platform. We are now taking the country forward. All the Jewish community, those things are, those things were Jewish community, the things of the past. South Africa, that flag is going to be waved properly, united. Colored people, they only belong in parks and smoking humbly. They can say that, but we are saying that this is a platform for us to come together as young people to take the country forward, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Commanders Morning.
But Danko means thank you.
Danko command.
Cyril means darkness. Thank you, Nyabo.
Morning.
To see you on the next episode. Get on.
This is the Hustlers Corner.